Something's out there. Something very weird.
Why do we always swim towards the weird things?
Animation is always collaboration. You're not just one guy making something.
It's the work of hundreds of people working together and all bringing their own best ideas to the table that make this film the way it is. The animation supervisors from the 3 different studios, all 3 of these guys were absolute masters. We were able to just sort of give an animator a shot, and they would come up with little gags, little extra expressions. The animator might work on the same shot for 3 or 4 days. So the attention to detail they bring is 1,000 times what we're ever going to suggest.
Eventually, we come to a point where everybody knows exactly how to animate, and then this is where it really speeds up the whole process.
Reza spent so many years developing this movie idea from his own head. We knew exactly what Vincent would do. Vincent should be more concerned here. And I would translate that into what visual cues you would need in order to be able to get the audience to understand what he's thinking.
Even though it's an animation, we try to follow a lot of these references based on real life.
You have to preserve that, but also at the same time, you want to incorporate the acting, human emotion in those shots.
There are terms that we follow, rules that we are provided for the gags and for the comedy of the specific scene or the drama.
I think one of the things that Reza brought to that in particular was constantly having us do less. If you look at really great actors, they hardly ever make noticeable facial expressions. It's all in their eyes.
The limitations of the acting, like you can do with a whale, you cannot use too much the fins or the body, so all has to be a lot in the facial. Sometimes in one eye.
We basically try to make it in a way that we feel that it's going to have value and substance to the scene.
The sequence with young Vincent that loses his parents, that was emotionally a very hard thing to open a film with. I think that was a watershed moment when we realized that scene was going to work. If you get everyone to follow Vincent's journey because of that moment, you've succeeded already. That's the heart of the whole movie. At the beginning of the movie, Vincent is very sort of unsure of himself. So all of Vincent's acting at the beginning of the movie is based on him taking a long time to move. He's thinking, his eyes are darting. By the end of the film, he's sure of who he is. He's become a man of action. But Daria is quick to act and then slow to relax. So by the end of the film, all of the characters visually start to become more like each other, which I think is life, right?
One of the big challenges that we had was definitely to make it feel like they're underwater. The resistance that the water gives on the limbs, on the tails, on the fins of the characters. So they will naturally feel a bit slower, but we also need to find the right balance between the two, where if it's too slow, then it's going to look slow motion. But if it's too fast, then it doesn't look like it's underwater.
This balance between this physicality of the movement make them feel like these heavy underwater creatures, but on the other hand, we have acting because we are doing an animated movie, and it brings its own set of issues.
Every movement is supported. All fins try to do the correct fish movement or locomotion with additional layer of human acting.
Why that was very hard to animate, because there's so many tentacles that we had to look for and make sure they don't collide with each other too much. Just the general squishiness of the character was really a challenge to achieve.
She needed to be transparent, so we need to be able to see through her. She has a lot of internal structures. This was quite tricky to get the balance right between being translucent and being able to see the silhouette of the character.
A whale has a gigantic mouth. So even in lip sync, so we had to modify our expectation of how many phonemes they could make in order to not seem strange that they're popping all over.
Já, zní to zvláštně, dělat kameramana na animovaném filmu, zvlášť to počítačového. Když to byly loutky dřevěný nebo ploškový film z papírku, tak jste opravdu fyzicky tu kameru na tom place. Teď vlastně ale děláte to samý, jenže virtuálně.
Characters in this movie are very animated, very alive. The camera needs to be able to catch them. The camera in The Last Whale Singer is meant to be the camera really of the diver, slightly moving all the time.
When we started developing the movie at the same time in 2018, real-time engines, game engines like Unreal, became popular. And what real-time does is it allows you to basically set up a world and then just have it be playing without much compromise. In traditional animation, you have to make choices like 3 years in advance, and then you cannot change them anymore. With Unreal Engine, we could constantly improve it. We could constantly work on it and just make it the best it could possibly be.
The workflow was definitely a bit more challenging than usual, simply because it's new. We had to adapt our pipeline, our tools, our workflow in order to make sure that it works with that software and that engine.
Water gets dispersed in the air and it generates multiple elements. Goes from splashes to smaller droplets, and then at the end it goes to the white water.
Water simulation always takes a long time to dial the correct values and get the look that you want. You get the result after 8 hours. It's not very fluent, so you cannot just like do something and see the results straight away.
We had a past experience working water simulation at different projects, so we kind of used as an asset and we just started to build it from there.
The first 3 scenes was a little bit of nightmare, but then it got super easy. Like once you know exactly what you're supposed to do, it's a much better feeling, and it's way more enjoyable as well.
When you have a certain level of hours that you did that, you start to get it and you start to know how the character should behave.
It's such an undertaking of this team that we got this film made. I cannot tell you how intense this film was.